life's been put on hold for far too long. When the sorrow and despair is growing strong, there is always something good to be obtained from breaking loose and leave the things that kept you chained. So when you find the strength to really shed your skin, all you really need to do is search within.
Hello everyone, it is Chinchilla Sims here again, and today we are building a tiny home, which if you have tiny living you would know that a tiny home is the second tier in the hierarchy of homes that comes with it. So there's some benefits that you get from living in a tiny home in The Sims. I think your bills are definitely lower, your relationships build more quickly. I can't really remember what the rest of the benefits are, but yeah, I just thought it would be fun to build a tiny home today, and I kind of went for a more modern design with this tiny home. I used a lot of the Moschino windows to give it a sort of like industrial modern vibe, but I definitely wanted to like step out of my comfort zone and make a tiny home that isn't just a box, because I'm super guilty of doing that. I have a tendency when I make tiny homes, when I see that limit for the tiles, I immediately want to just make a box and have it be that size of tiles. But today I wanted to try something a little bit different, and I think that it turned out looking super cute, and it looks modern, but it also looks cozy woods kind of feeling, because I end up adding ivy up the sides of it, and I have it placed on Windenburg on the island, which I think is like a really cool lot because you can see the ocean and everything from it. It is a little bit weird because there's no road or anything leading up to the lot. So when you put a mailbox, it kind of just looks like it's a mailbox leading to nowhere. It's like facing towards the water, and kind of makes you wonder how the Sims actually get there, but it's The Sims, so I guess we don't really need to worry about that anyways. Just let it be what it is. And so right here you see me adding a skylight to the house, which makes for some really cool shadows, which you'll probably see in the screenshot. You can just see the sun like beating down into there, and it's like a little sunroom. I put some plants in there so your Sim can garden, but most of the pots that I put in it you can't actually get to with your Sim, so I added some plants from the terrain tools into them just so that they didn't look completely empty. But yeah, I think that the skylight was a really cute idea, and it just really brightens up the space. There's a lot of windows on this tiny home, which I personally love because it's just super bright, and I think that it totally fits the vibe of Windenburg. Even though Windenburg has a lot of Tudor style homes, I think that this just looks like such a fun, outgoing place to live, which is kind of what Windenburg and the Get Together expansion pack was all about, was like getting together with your friends. So that is why I chose to show my Sims getting together in a little gathering outside this house for the montage at the beginning. I just thought that when I look at this house, I think of a young person living here who is just starting to make their way in the world and finally figure out what they like. So yeah, I thought that was a really cute idea. And right here you just see me adding a half wall to the top of the build. I wasn't sure what I should do with the roofing up there, and I was trying to do a slanted roof, you probably saw, but it just didn't look right, and I figured since this is kind of a modern build, having a flat roof with a little bit of fencing around it actually ended up looking really cool and just super unique. And I actually wanted to put a little garden up there and actually make it functional, but the way that the ladders are and the amount of space that was in the upstairs bedroom, I just couldn't do it. But you could probably figure out a way to add a ladder up there, and then you could have your own little rooftop garden. as well as the sunroom. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cute. I struggled so much building the kitchen in this build, and you'll see it in a minute, but I completely play tested all of it. It looks like your sim shouldn't be able to use it, but the way that it turns out in the end, I play tested that they can make food, they can sit at the island, it all completely works, and yeah, I think that it turns out looking really cute. Actually, I was originally planning on doing a micro home for this build, but I was actually having trouble staying within the confines of a tiny home, let alone a micro home, so I'm definitely going to try that again some other time. I actually have an idea to make a camper as a micro home, so I think I'm going to give that a try sometime soon, but I end up really loving this as a tiny home. I almost ended up in the small home tier because I was just getting so frustrated with how I couldn't fit anything and like make it look right or make it look like your sim could actually move around. But the way that it turns out in the end, I end up loving. I would definitely live here. I think tiny homes are the cutest thing in the world. I love that window seat that I just added right there. I actually shaped the walls with adding that in mind. And right there, I add the object from Tiny Living. It is a bookshelf and a stereo and a TV. So it's like all of your Sims entertainment just pressed into one tiny little object, and I love that about it. It was super annoying though. One time I put that in my Sim's bedroom, and every time my Sim would go to bed, they would immediately wake up, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And my Sim was tired for like 6 days straight, and I just could not get them to stay in bed no matter what I did. And then it turned out that the stereo was being on, and I hadn't realized it because the object is so small, and I didn't know that it was also a stereo. So my Sim was just super tired for days, and it took me forever to figure it out. I thought that my game was just glitching, but no, it was just me. I just didn't know. Yeah, so that was like super annoying. But you shouldn't have that problem in this house because the stereo is downstairs and the bedroom is upstairs. And right there you see me add the bathroom, and I end up putting a full bath and shower in there. I'm going to change it up right here, but I end up changing it back because I just thought that it would be better to have a full bath and shower because I really like to have a bathtub in my builds, but I like having a shower as well for the convenience of if you need it to take like less long. But I like having the bathtub because when your Sim gets home from work and they're super stressed and they're also all sweaty and gross, if they go and take a bubble bath, their fun goes up and their hygiene goes up. So I think that that's a really important tool to have, and I think it was worth using my extra 2 tiles on. And yeah, so here you see me adding a little bit of a feature wall in there. I was actually not sure what I should do with the walls in here. I was a little bit skeptical about the white siding that I end up leaving in here, but it kind of grew on me. I thought it looked unfinished at first, but now looking at it, I think that it looks really sweet and charming and like a little cottage on the inside, but it also keeps that like modern vibe of the build. So yeah, and here I am messing with the roof again because I realized that you could see down into the living room from the skylight as well, which wasn't what I originally intended, but it's just the way that the build is that it's like that. So there's like a small like square of light that shines down into the living room, which I think is cool. I didn't intend for it to be that way, but that's just how it was, and I couldn't change it because of the way that the roofing tools are. But you'll see that in the screenshots of the living area, and I think that it turns out looking okay, even though it's not really what I wanted. And here I am just messing with the kitchen again. I just keep going back to the kitchen, but I wanted it to still look complete without being overcrowded, so I didn't add any clutter that I normally would add to the countertops, just because I was afraid of making them not be functional. And with a build this small, having at least one functional counter is super important, or else your Sim will not eat food at all. Although there is a fire pit in the backyard, so I suppose they could roast hot dogs and marshmallows and just live off of that. But yeah, so here I have expanded the bathroom out to the way it was going to stay, with the full bath and shower, which is quite a luxury for a tiny home, I would say. And I'm just adding some little details in here so that it doesn't look so bland. I went with a sort of blue and orange theme for this build on the inside, and I think that it really worked out and it turned out super cute, and it would totally work for a sim of either gender. Right here I'm adding a little balcony area, which I thought was kind of sweet. Your sim obviously isn't going to go out there very much because there's not much space to do anything, so I end up just adding a plant. But yeah, so here I am trying to figure out how I'm going to make the rooftop garden, and like I said, I didn't like the way that it was looking on the inside of the bedroom having 2 ladders in there, so I just left it out. But you could totally add a ladder and have a little rooftop garden, and I think that's totally doable. And yeah, so here I am adding some windows to the exterior just because I wanted to open up the exterior a little bit and try to make it look a little less boxy and a little bit more welcoming. It kind of had a factory vibe going with just how little windows there were at the start, so I definitely added a lot of windows, and I actually used those Moschino opened windows because I thought that really opened up the space and brought the outside inside a little bit. And so now I am decorating the bedroom. Like I said, I think this bedroom is maybe a little bit more girly, but I think that it would work for both genders, and if not, you could easily switch out the decorations because I didn't put a lot in here because again, I wanted this build to be totally functional and usable for your sim, or maybe you have 2 sims living here. You could definitely have 2 sims living here because it's a queen-sized bed, so you could definitely fit 2 sims here and they can access both sides of it. So I wanted to make it so that it wasn't just limited to 1 sim, although I think that would be easiest to play with in this house just because it is so small. But you could definitely get 2 in here. So here I am making the cute little front porch area, and I kind of struggled with this just because I wasn't sure how to handle the lot just being plopped in the middle of a huge field of grass. I'm used to building on lots that have a road that you can sort of connect the sidewalk slabs to. But I think that I approached it in a really good way. I think that these little stones fading out into the grass looks actually pretty realistic. Like maybe this was an old cottage that was abandoned here and somebody bought it and renovated it, and it's like their little vacation tiny home on the beach or something, and they have to take their boat to get out here. So I thought that was kind of a cool storyline. But so now I'm just working on the landscaping, and I wasn't really sure what to do for this just because it's a modern build, so I didn't want to add super floral and colorful landscaping. I wanted to keep it sort of monotone on the outside but still look really cute. And I think that the way that I landscape worked out because the white flowers are not too much, but they're also not too little, I think. And yeah, so I love that table that has the mirror on top. I think that is so cute, and it can look glam, it can look modern depending how you place it. And right now I'm just struggling, trying to add a couple of porch plants, but I just didn't like the way that it looked. I liked the way that it looked when it was a little bit more bare, so I end up leaving those out. And now I'm adding a little gardening area in the back that will be more functional than the one on the inside because obviously your sim can't really reach those pots on the inside once I add the table that I end up adding. Although you could remove the table and make the sunroom a complete gardening area, which I think would also be really nice, especially if that was your sim's main source of income. It could be like their little office for gardening where they have all their plants, because it's really useful in The Sims to have sheltered plant areas so that the flowers or whatever that you plant in them grow all year round instead of just being in one season. I think it's so annoying that they only grow in one season. I know it's more realistic, but it seems like you only have a couple of days with them, or you get a really cool plant and you know it's worth a lot and you just want to go plant it and you're like, why isn't it sprouting? And it's just because it's not like the proper season for it. So now I'm adding an ivy, which I think really just makes the build look so nice. It was just so stark before, and now it's like really warmed up, and now it's sort of starting to blend in with its surroundings. Not too much, but just enough. I think it looks so cute with the ivy climbing up it. And yeah, I'm adding some more landscaping to make this lot, when I'm not in build mode, look more natural in the surrounding area. So yeah, you see me adding some soil underneath of the plants just because when I don't do that, I feel like the plants look like they're just set on top of the grass when I want them to look like they are in the grass, like planted in the grass. So that is what I am doing here. I'm trying to make it look like the surrounding plants, but there were some plants that I just could not find in debug or in the plants menu, so I just end up using these, and I think that they worked out really well. I didn't want it to look super overgrown, but just like the person that lives here really wants their house to fit in with the nature that is going on around it. And right there I was just testing to see how the outdoor lights that I added looked, because sometimes I feel like you add them and they're super yellow or something and you don't realize it until you're actually playing. So yeah, now I'm trying to find a tree that resembles the ones in the background. It's probably in the debug menu. I didn't actually look that hard for it, but I think the one that I chose just to put out there and make the build look more natural, I think it looks really cute anyways. And I end up adding another tree just because I wanted to add those little mason jar lights and have them hanging from a tree by the fire pit area. I thought that would be a really cute addition. Like, the person that lives here spends a lot of time out there, so they just want it to look really cute for when they have their friends over. And I also end up adding a bicycle, although I'm not really sure where you would ride that in Windenburg on the island, but I just thought it looked cute for decoration anyways. And yeah, so I'm adding those mason jar lights right now to that tree, and I think they look so adorable. I'm also going to add a soccer ball so that there's a lot of activities to do outside, because it's a tiny house and there's only so many things you can fit on the inside, so I think that you definitely need to make do with the outside. But right now we are coming up on the screenshots, so thank you for watching this build with me, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!
When your life's been put on hold for far too long, when the sorrow and despair is growing strong, there is always something good to be obtained from breaking